punctuality to them. Given that this is their normal behavior, what can I do to change the way I react, the way I handle the situation? Power talkers accept personal responsibility. And there's so many examples of this in our daily interactions. Hey, suppose you're talking to a customer. Your gut tells you that this customer isn't really following you. They don't quite get what you're trying to explain. If you say, you know, I don't think you really understand, what do they hear? You're stupid. You're not intellectually capable of keeping up with my very clear explanation. You didn't say that, but when you say you don't understand, that's what they hear. Power talkers recognize that responsibility lies with these three fingers, so instead of you don't understand, when you see that a customer doesn't understand what you're saying, you say, you know, I don't think I'm doing a good job of explaining this. It's our responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, you're here because you want to take control of the way your communication impacts others. If you say you don't understand, you and I need to make the leap to say, how is this going to affect the other person? When you say you don't understand, they're going to think, hey, he's calling me stupid. And there goes cooperation. Instead, to say, you know, I don't think I'm explaining this clearly enough. Power talkers accept responsibility. And the fifth trait of power talkers is that they are very good at building cooperation. I got a surprise for you here. Next meeting with Carrie, who's a wonderful presenter, is not going to be here at the Star Theater. In fact, it's wherever you want it to be because Michael is chartering a 757 and taking you all wherever you want to go. You can have the seminar anywhere. You get to pick. Where would you like it to be? Hawaii? I disagree. I disagree. What is your name, please? D? Interesting. D said Hawaii. I said I disagree. If you were standing where I am and you saw Dee's face, you would notice a change happened when I said disagree. Because it comes out of my mouth, D-I-S-A-G-R-E-E. But by the time it gets into her ear and hits her brain, she hears something completely different. What do people hear when you say, I disagree? You are wrong. What a bad choice. Weren't you listening to my story about Hawaii? What an idiotic thing. That's a wrong answer. I didn't say that. But the word disagree, those of you who took Psych, remember Psych 101, the principle of cognitive dissonance. Principle of cognitive dissonance is simply this. People like to be right. When people say, oh no, you're not right, you're wrong, they then dig in their heels and are determined to prove that they were right all along. Because D now, her mind is visibly going to justify, let's see, I said Hawaii for a very good reason. Here are 3 reasons why Hawaii is the right. She doesn't hear what I say. She's busy justifying her position. If you say to somebody in a conversation, you know, I disagree with what you're saying, they now get the clear message that this is a showdown. Only one of us is right, and it ain't you. And therefore, they don't want to cooperate. So power talkers are very conscious of their need to create positive interactions with others and build cooperation. And in fact, it's the next trait area of power talkers. They're very good at creating cooperation. Where regular people might say, you know, I disagree with what you're saying, power talkers instead would say, you know, I understand what you're saying, and at the same time, let's also consider this additional information. In other words, it's not one of us is right and one of us is wrong. You're the wrong one. But rather, there's some value in what you're saying. There may be some value in my ideas. In fact, maybe we can come up with a third approach that's different from what you thought and what I thought. Let's take the best of both and put them together. Power talkers build cooperation. And sometimes that's a matter of avoiding things like we talked about earlier, but avoiding words that make people feel conflict. It's certainly avoiding words like disagree. And it is instead building in the direction of cooperation. How many people here are in the sales profession? So who's not then? Okay, only one wrong answer. We all are, of course. And in its essence, building cooperation is the process of selling. It's building cooperation. But funny, you don't often go to parties and have someone say, hey, I'm a salesperson. They're not, people aren't all that proud of it. And I notice for myself, when I leave you this evening, I'll get a good night's sleep, I'll head back to Seattle tomorrow, and definitely, when I'm on the plane tomorrow, hey, when I close tonight and go back to my room, I'm played out. I'm talked out. When I get on the plane tomorrow, the person next to me will certainly say, oh, were you going to Seattle? Do you live in Detroit? No, I live in Seattle. Oh, well, what brought you to Detroit? They want to start a friendly conversation. If I say, oh, well, I'm a speaker, and I write business books, and I was given a presentation last night, and they're thinking, oh, that's interesting. I've never met a speaker before. Now, what did you say? And they're thinking, okay, we've got 3 hours here. Give me a seminar. Now, what I really would like to say is, give me a break. I'm all talked out. I need to rest. But this would be rude. So I found the best way to handle it is I simply say, oh, me? I sell life insurance. Those of you in financial services know, this is magic. They will not, even though there's nothing to look at, they'll be glued to the window the whole time. They're not want to risk talking to a salesperson. Why is it people have this image? But let's go to the dictionary. Let's look it up. The way dictionaries work, incidentally, is not some literary academicians write in the dictionary what words should mean. They instead literally send out postcards with a word written on it to thousands and thousands of people, and they ask you to write what it means to you, and then they compile those. Dictionaries, in other words, reflect common usage. They don't set usage. So let's go to Webster's. Let's look up sell. What does it have to say about sell? Well, let's see. Pretty small print, but there are some words that jump out, like betray, cheat. Oh, I have not altered this definition. This is in Webster's. This is the definition of sell. Let's hold it. Let's get a closer look. This can't be right. Let's get a closer look here. Let's see. To deliver or give up in violation of duty, trust, or loyalty. To betray, especially foolishly or dishonorably. To deliver into slavery for money. Hold it. To impose upon, to cheat. That's the dictionary definition of sell. How it got there, of course, is salespeople put it there. Salespeople put it there by treating customers in a manner that makes them not want to be sold to. Now, fortunately, we're talking about the salespeople in the other auditorium, not us. Still, we've got to recognize going in that people have a predisposition to not want to be sold to because they perceive that salespeople are going to. When those kind of salespeople talk to me, I feel like, okay, they just came out of the training seminar, and the training seminar said these are the 17 key wonderful things about our product. Make sure you do not let the customer get a word in edgewise. They're going like, there are 17 reasons why you should buy from me. Now, do not interrupt. I've got to give you all 17. That's not the way to sell. And as a speaker, I'll often hear one of my colleagues, somebody who you hear at Yes, and I might be sitting in the audience saying, well, hold it, wait a minute, that's my material. And I think, well, no, did I hear that from someone else? Because there's only so much truth going around. But what I'm going to share with you now, I remember the shower I was standing in when I thought of this. It was purple tile. It was in Niles, Illinois. If you ever hear anybody talk about CPR selling, that's my material. Here's the best way to sell. First, quit closing sales. Because remember, we're here tonight talking about the impact language has on us and our behaviors. What is in your words is in your mind, is in your actions. Well, closing sales, that means like, I got the signature, I've got the money, I'm out of here. And no wonder customers feel like they're really romanced when they're prospects, and when they become customers, it's not such a pleasant experience. So let's remember that if you use terminology, common terminology like closing sales, there's that link, that connection between your mouth, your brain, and your behavior. If you say you closed the sale, it's like giving yourself permission to walk away and abandon this customer. Because every customer conversation is not a closed deal. You don't close sales. Every conversation is a step in the direction of nurturing a long-term relationship. And so I want to have you purge closing sales. Just get that term out. And instead, when you're talking about a situation where you would normally say, hey, I closed a sale, instead talk about having initiated or opened a relationship. Instead of talking about a customer service problem you had to solve, talk about nurturing the relationship and extending the relationship because, of course, profits in business result from long-term customer relationships. That's why earlier we focused on building referrals. Referrals come from customers who are pleased with their relationship. They don't give up referrals to those with whom they don't have a basis of trust. It's all about building long-term trust. So instead of closing sales, I want you to administer CPR. And I'm not talking about, knock them down to the pavement and start beating on their chest. Instead, CPR is an acronym that stands for what I believe to be the 3 simple and typically overlooked guides to good selling. The first is to ask questions. The number one mistake salespeople make, no matter how many books, videos, seminars they go to, salespeople talk too much. The best trait a salesperson can have is to ask good questions. They come in 3 varieties. Open-ended question, for example, those of you who are in real estate sales here, is not to say, let me tell you about the 7 houses I have listed in this area, and let me tell you why my brokerage is the best one, let me tell you why I'm wonderful. The best thing to do is to say, tell me, as you choose a realtor to help you in selecting your new home, what are the things that are most important to you? And then you have to shut up. It's very hard for salespeople to do. You have to shut up and let them tell you. An open-ended question allows you to assess their communication style so you can tune into it. It allows them to tell you what they care most about. It allows you to tailor the approach you're going to use to what they really want. Multiple choice questions help your prospect or your customer steer you toward the best solution for their set of needs. Is convenience in commuting to work more important to you, or is it resale value for your home? Is it the ability to expand your home as your family grows, or are you looking for a place that you can be comfortable in for the rest of your life and not have to expand? Incidentally, for realtors in the audience, yesterday I signed the final documents. I am moving from my current 3,500-foot home to a 1,600-foot home. It's the great downsizing experiment. And I go back tomorrow to finish packing up, to move in on Friday, and it's so exciting to me that if somebody were selling a house to me, I wasn't looking for a house, I just fell in love, I just saw this cottage and thought, I want to live there. It's less than half the size of my current home, but isn't it time I got rid of that junk that I just keep moving from house to house? So, very important that we ask our prospects what they care about. Multiple choice lets them steer you toward what they care most about. And yes, no questions are only useful in 2 situations. One is when you really don't want to make a sale. I'm in real estate. Want to buy a house from me? No. Oh, sorry I bothered you. The second situation, though, is one in which your gut tells you you're being strung along. There are some customers you deal with, and you just know they're not going to buy. And this yes, no question comes into play when you say to your customer, to your client, buying a home is such a big decision, and I'm really glad that you've been taking time to thoughtfully approach it. I'm glad I've showed you the 17 homes that fit your needs. It was my pleasure to show you the last 7 of them 4 times. I know that you wanted to have your out-of-town family come and see them too. I was happy to get the tax records and the duplicates for the tax records that you lost. Are you going to buy a home or not? Because if they're not, get them to say no. In that case, now you can focus your attention on somebody who's going to do business with you. Some people aren't, but they just can't bring themselves to say so. So you want to kind of flesh them out. Get them to tell you where they stand. The C is to consult. Ask good questions. And the P is to personalize it. That is to match the benefits you know that apply either to your service or the particular product, or for realtors to the home that you're selling, to match, based on what you're telling me, what's most important to you is, the reason I see this home as being a good fit for your needs is, in other words, make the match for them. And then, remember what we're here for tonight? We're focusing on the importance of language, the link between your words, your thoughts, and your actions. Then I invite you to use the word recommend. The R of CPR is to recommend. Because typical sales posture is to get behind someone and try to push them toward what you want them to do. Recommending is getting beside your customer through a process of asking questions and personalizing, develop the dialogue. What do you need? This would fit, In other words, an advisor, a consultant, helps customers make, and the advisor makes recommendations that are in the customer's best interest. So I would like you, even if you don't remember CPR, I would like you to remember the word recommend. Because if you adopt as your goal in selling the ability to make recommendations for your clients, that will keep you on the track. Hey, you can't make a recommendation if you don't know what's good for them. You can't know what's good for them if you don't ask questions. So as long as your goal is to make recommendations for your client, psychologically you'll be keeping yourself on track, focused on your client's needs. This trait of power talkers is that they are very good at building cooperation. They sell well. They have customers who enjoy working with them. And they have customers who they know rely on them. In fact, the sixth trait of power talkers is that they are decisive. I remember this home that I live in now that I'll now be selling. Anybody want the listing? It's in Seattle. This home, I know when I purchased this home originally, there were all these flyers around the neighborhood. It was a brand new neighborhood with people who were, screens, $14.95 any size window. And they all looked about the same, and one was for Ed's Screen Service. And I remember I called up Ed's Screen Service and said, I just bought this home, and here's how many windows and sliding doors there are. And he gave me a price for them. They were all the same. They're basically the same price. And I thought, well, what's the difference? And I called Ed's Screen Service. And he came out, and he said he should be out there first thing Thursday morning. Well, he didn't show up till afternoon, but okay. And he came out and he measured, and he gave me the price, and sure enough, the price was acceptable. I said, well, how long before I get the screens? He said, well, it should be within 2 weeks. I said, oh, okay, 2 weeks, I can wait. And the bugs are around, but 2 weeks I can make it. Well, after 3 weeks, I called Ed and said, hey, you said 2 weeks, but I had to tell the answering service because Ed wasn't there. And they said, well, we'll take the message, and he should call you back tomorrow. But he didn't call back tomorrow. And I left this series of messages. I finally left 3 messages in one day. The third message said, tell Ed he may place the screens wherever he wishes because I'm canceling the order. If he won't return my call, I'm canceling the order. What do you know? Ed called back. He said, oh, gee, what do you know? The screens just came in. I should have them out there for you Friday morning. Well, okay, so it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but all right. And he installed the screens. It was okay. Everything was okay. And I followed Ed out to the truck, and I wrote him his check. And as he was getting in the truck, I thought, my goal is to help people. I focus on language in selling relationships. I want to do Ed a little favor. I said, Ed, before you leave, I just want to let you know, I write books about how to communicate more positively. And, there's something about your style of communication that I haven't felt very good about because you actually have never done anything you've said you would do. You haven't called back. You didn't come there on Friday. You weren't there in the morning. And as your customer, I just felt you should know I felt disappointed. Screens are fine, but I felt disappointed about the way you've handled dealing with me. And Ed said, hey, 99 out of 100 you can please. There's always somebody who, no matter what you do, you can't make them happy. And he slammed the door, and he left with a screech. And I was just like, I'm trying to help him. And then I thought, let's see, I'll stop payment on the check. And then I realized, no. Ed did nothing wrong. He never violated a commitment. He never made a commitment. Had I been paying attention, I'd have noticed that he always said, I should have them in 2 weeks. I should be there Thursday. He never said what he would do, only what he should do. And I have since learned that when you hear somebody who says, I should be able to do this, I should do that, don't count on it. Powerless people, the ones in the other auditorium, are not decisive. When they speak, they say things like, I should be able to probably have that completed by, about Thursday. Don't count on it. When someone says, I will have that for you, that's the person you can rely on. Power talkers, with their language, convey that idea that you can count on them to do what they say they will do. Power talkers are decisive. Incidentally, note there's a difference here. Okay, here's a question. If you are on vacation and you order room service and your breakfast is delivered to your room in 22 minutes, will you be happy or not happy with the 22-minute wait? It depends. If there's a little placard at your bedside table that says, express breakfast, delivered in 15 minutes, then from 14 minutes on, you're going, what is wrong with them here? Where is my breakfast? They are so slow at this place. What is wrong with them? But if you place your order and they say, I'll have that up within half an hour, and you hear a knock at 22 minutes, you're going, man, they're fast. What great service they have here. It's the same 22 minutes. Your satisfaction is dependent on the gap between what happens and what you expect to happen. So if you think you're going to get it done by Thursday, don't say, I should have it by Thursday. Don't say, I'll try to have it by Thursday. Don't even say, I will have it by Thursday. Say, I will have it by Friday. Then deliver on Thursday. They now go, whoa! Beat his word! We want the people with whom we deal not just to know that they can rely on us to follow through. We want to consistently surprise them that we did better than they expected. We set their expectations with our language. And, of course, this also builds in a safety cushion because sometimes unforeseen circumstances make it impossible for you to do things as well as you would like to. And when you have built in that safety cushion, you can at least meet their expectations even if you don't exceed them. Power talkers speak decisively. You know you can rely on them. They don't say what they should do. They say what they will do. They don't say, I'll try to get that done. They say, I will get that done. Now, to be honest, we're covering so many different approaches, so many different phrases here. And while they're all important, to tell you the truth, the one that means the most to me, and I want to level with you on this, candidly speaking now, let me be frank. Okay, so what are you thinking when someone says this? Yeah, let me be honest with you. I'm not honest with other people. Let me tell you the truth, as opposed to the lies I've been telling you up until now. The seventh trait of power talkers is that they tell the truth. It's so common. You say it now. I've pretty well purged myself of this, but it's such an epidemic of habitual phrases that people say, well, to tell you the truth, honestly, frankly, let me level with you, all of which imply that it's not your normal behavior. Yet, how many of you have read that book, The Millionaire Next Door, one of the books in the series, Millionaire Next Door? Excellent series. I highly recommend it. And before I read that book, I had a wrong impression, as do most people who read the book. And that is, you say, well, the author set out to say, what is it about millionaires that makes them different from other people? What about people who achieve financial security? What's different? And most of us, myself included, think, oh, okay, well, they're extra smart, or they're taller than everybody else, or they come from families of privilege, or they graduate at the top of their class, or they got some special, there's some inside deal. Turns out not to be the case. People who achieve financial success are not extra bright. They didn't graduate at the top of their class. They don't have special family backgrounds. They're simply down-to-earth people who set a plan, who work consistently, who save money, who have goals in mind. They're regular people. When the author interviews the millionaires and says, what is it about you that made you achieve financial success? They don't say, well, I'm extra smart, or, boy, I was a good student. They don't say that. The number one answer is, I'm honest. People know they're going to get fair treatment from me. They know they can rely on me. They know I'll do what I said I will do. I have built a lifetime track record of honesty. Caution. Ladies and gentlemen, caution. Everything I've said up until now this evening has involved a substitution. I've said, don't say problem, say challenge. Don't say, I can't seat you until 3, say, I can seat you at 3. Don't say, I'll have to call you back, say, I'll be glad to call you back. In every case, except one, there's a substitution. There's a better way to say things. There is no better way to say, I am an honest person. There's no phrase you can use. All you can do is create a lifetime pattern, a record of people knowing that you are truthful. Don't lie. Don't lie on the little things. For yourself, establish for yourself a personal 100% record of you tell the truth. And I'm not just talking about big lies, little things like, okay, anybody here married still? Okay, so, you never take the trash out on time. Never? I think there was once, 4 years ago, didn't I take it? You always do this. You never do that. Those are not truthful statements. It is also not truthful. Okay, this is getting a little extreme. Something you will not hear me say is, I don't remember. Because literally, from a biological standpoint, you remember everything from the moment of your birth. Some would say from the moment of your conception, or at least some point as you were developing in your mom's womb, you started remembering things. Right now, you remember every sound, every smell, every sight, everything that's occurred to you in all your life. Now, you might not recall it at this moment, but you do remember it. So if you say to someone, geez, I can't remember, that's literally not true. That's a lie. It's also a destructive lie. Because when you say, I can't remember, you're saying, my brain has limited power. No. There is no supercomputer, no cray, no supercomputer on Earth comes close to the processing and memory storage capabilities of your brain right now. We have such a phenomenal resource. We don't forget anything. So don't say, I can't remember. Personally, what I say is, I don't recall. Because that's actually fact. It's in there. I'm not pulling it out right now. I might not be remembering at this moment what that phone number is, but it's in there. Power talkers tell the truth in every instance. And I started off at the beginning of our program tonight saying that you wouldn't learn anything new. And I hope so far, everything I've touched on, you've said, no, I noticed that. When someone says, I'll tell you the truth, you get a little suspicious of them right away. The 8th trait of power talkers is that they remember the basics. And we're talking real basics that are very infrequently practiced for some reason. The first is that power talkers remember the basics by using other people's names. In moderation, caution. And I add this caution because I remember shooting a video series in Denver. I was in a TV studio. The producer's name was Joe. And Joe said, it was a 12-hour video series. Joe said, George, this is going to be such a fantastic program. You have just great material here. George, I've been all through your outline. I see all the points you're going to cover. George, they are so right on. It's going to be great. And George, there's one thing I noticed in looking over your outline that you didn't specifically focus on. And George, I want to encourage you to add this chunk of material because, George, it is so important. Because after all, George, I sell myself. And one of the most powerful things any salesperson can do, George, I'm sure you've noticed this yourself, is to use the other person's name. And I'm thinking, don't say it again, not one more time. You know, nails on the blackboard, George. It's like fake, phony, fake, manipulative. So I suggest 3 times. When the other person says their name the first time, say it right then. Say it back. Scott, it's a pleasure to meet you. At some point during the conversation, say it once. The last thing in the conversation, Scott, I enjoyed talking with you. Just 3 times is fine. Oh. How many people here would say you're really not that good with remembering names? My hand's up. This is an area that I personally work on. Excellent. Thank you very much. Please come pick up this book at the break. Excellent. Thank you for catching me. Very good. I have difficulty recalling names. So, you know the situation. Oh, what's that guy's name? I know it. What's his name? And you oh, he's coming over. Oh, what am I going to say? You know, I hate to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't remember your name. You hope somebody else will say it. And you go, oh, that's right, it's Dave. Or you could say, I'm so sorry, you have to excuse me. I'm just terrible with names. I'm a klutz, I'm an idiot. Why not do this? Why not say, hey, great to see you, George Walther. Because when you extend your hand and extend your name, hey, chances are he's over there going, what's that guy's name? When you walk over and say your name, their natural reaction, of course, is to say their name back to you. They're probably feeling relieved that you volunteered your name. Instead of going around beating yourself up saying, oh, I'm just terrible with names. I can't recall names. Instead, walk over and announce your name. That puts the other person at ease. They say your name, and it's all taken care of. Power talkers practice the basics, and they use other people's names. Power talkers also, they make mistakes. And when they do, they apologize, and they admit it. I don't know why, those people in the other room, the losers, somehow they got it in their heads that admitting to a mistake makes them look bad. It's not the case. When you admit to a mistake, I know I'm dealing with a printer right now and a designer. I'm doing a redesign of my logo, and my whole corporate look is I'm kind of rebranding myself. And I just was reviewing the proofs that come from the printer, and I go, hey, what about the red bar along the bottom? And this guy, Scott Michelson, looked at me and said, that's my mistake. We left that out. I don't think, oh, he's terrible. He made a mistake. I think, okay, this is a guy that's confident enough that can say, oops, glad you caught that. I made that mistake. I think more of him. My esteem for him elevates when someone admits a mistake. Don't you find that to be the case? Isn't it refreshing when someone says, this is my responsibility? Power talkers remember the basics and admit when they're wrong. And power talkers, boy, how basic could this be? Power talkers say thank you. I had an experience just before we began this program that reminded me of the simple ways it makes a big difference to say thank you. I found this amazing. I buy most of my garments at the Men's Warehouse. And I don't know if those of you who shop at Men's Warehouse, yes, it's excellent value. Yes, there are lots of stores and all that. I notice, though, that the way they treat me so often makes me feel good about doing business there. And one little secret surprise is that any garment you buy at Men's Warehouse, they will press for you at any time for free. Now, when you have a garment dry cleaned, the fabric deteriorates and it's harmful. You shouldn't dry clean everything all the time. You should have it press, dry clean, press, dry clean. So, I drive in with my clothes to be proud. I think this is wonderful. They press for free. Not only that, they press out of town for free. So just before we began this evening, I dropped my suit off at the Men's Warehouse over on Lake Orchard Road, and they pressed it. Orchard Lake Road. And just before we began this program, I took the suit off the hanger, and inside was a note. Handwritten from Amar Jargis. Thank you for giving me the chance to serve you. He's thanking me for pressing my suit for free. Am I going back? I buy everything from them. It's the little touches. Expressing appreciation doesn't happen often enough. We all... Okay. Close your eyes for just a moment in deep contemplation. Close your eyes. Think back over your life. Think of all the good things you've done for other people. Think of that. You weigh it out all the years of your life. What good things have you done for others? Okay, now think about the appreciation you have received from others. All your life. Okay, those of you who have received more appreciation than you deserve, raise your hand, please. Okay, there are always a couple people who don't understand the question. None of us get the appreciation we deserve, and our customers are just like us. We're going through life going, hey, I do a lot of good stuff. I don't get appreciated much. When someone says, thank you for giving me the pleasure of pressing your suit for free, like, I've been waiting for this. I'll go back. Power talkers express appreciation. What did you come here for tonight?
Learn.
I'm glad you came here to learn. I'm glad you came here for education. I hope you came here because you want to do something with this. But what? I got a game plan for you. What can you do right now? My hope, of course, is at this point that you remember many of the substitutions we've talked about, that you review your notes. Some of you will get really serious and watch the video and listen to the CDs and really put it into practice. But to make this be a reality, a part of your daily life, which, as I say, I work on every day. Don't think you're going to hear this once and go, oh, yeah, I'll never say that again. Here's some steps I want to encourage you to take. First is to notice yourself and others, and you will. The next person who says to you, well, to be honest, you'll definitely notice. The next time when someone says, I'll have to call you back, you're going to be thinking, you know, that would sound a lot better if you said, I'd like to call you back. The next time someone says, you know, I've really got a problem with this customer, you're going to be thinking, you know, you'd have a much more positive approach to things if you said, I have a challenge with this customer's account. The next greeter at a restaurant who says, I can't seat you until 9:30, you're going to be thinking, you know, you could have said, I'll be glad to seat you at 9:30. You will notice yourself and others. I invite you to select an office supporter. Perhaps you have a colleague here who's gone through the same curriculum that we have done today. If not, then tomorrow do your own little training session. And for those of you tomorrow who go back and kind of give a little mini seminar, you could bite it off. You could take it, say, like one phrase at a time. Let's go through the 50 phrases one at a time. And you say to those around you, please help me. I'm not even aware of how frequently I say these things. So some people, like, they'll take a wide rubber band and kind of write in there, okay, I'll have to. That's what they're going to stop saying. You say, hey, if you hear me say I'll have to, just reach over and give it a little snap. You know, and whap, ooh, it hurts. And you learn. And if you don't learn, then we've got the advanced course in power. Get somebody at work to help you pay attention, and of course pay attention to them. Do it at home. Hey, if you go back to your kids and say, I'll give you 50 cents every time you catch me saying I'll have to, it's amazing how helpful they will be. I definitely invite you to take advantage of the reinforcement materials. Start with one target phrase. Just decide, I'm not going to say I'll have to. I'm going to always say I'll be glad to, I'd like to, I'll be happy to. Start in one place. Take advantage of the reinforcement materials available here tonight. Take a refresher course on tonight and make it an intense one. I also invite you to visit the website where you can download for free. You'll see it's very obvious there that there's a 50-phrase reference card so that you can print it out and have it right by your phone so you can keep track of all 50 phrases. You can do this. It's not easy. It is simple.